Diba yung last time nang talk si RJ dito, one of the most memorable lines na sinabi niya was like, yung, diba, parang, when he was going through some problems and other people were consulted, parang nagtatanong sa kanya kung parang yung parang mga problema sa mga markets. Diba, parang sabi niya, it's like, dalawang bulag na nagtutulungan. Diba? Parang yung sinabi niya. So, my fellow blind men and women. Okay, so let me just share with you, kasi I've been here for 8 years na. Okay, so how an 8-year blind person like me, okay, tackled or yung mga concepts, mindsets that I use to navigate this dark world ng stock market. Okay, right? So, kasi most of you guys have diba, parang maybe you guys in perspective nyo sa trading, maybe different from mine. Okay, so trading for me is not a normal desk job. For me, the way I see it, it's a performance job. Okay, so the way I view myself, is parang athlete. Okay, so not necessarily you have to be physically strong, but yung mindset mo should be like that. Okay, so of course, when you play the game, sometimes you win. Okay, other times we lose. Diba? So it's part. So unlike other jobs na you don't have skin on the game, if you're doing a performance job, kasama yan. Okay. Minsan, talo ka. Diba? Right. So, some concepts lang that you need to have when you go to the market. Right. So, number one is don't lie to yourself. Okay, so honestly assess yourself. So, if you're an athlete, you have to ask yourself, are you injured? Okay. So, in terms of trading, ano ba? Are you healthy in both body and mind? Okay, so most of us take this for granted. Like, we wake up, we go to the office without really assessing ourselves kung kamusta na ba tayo. Okay? Kagalit, baka injured ka mentally, maybe you just suffered a big loss last month, di ba? You're physically unbalanced or physically injured ka. Okay? And then, you have to understand na, as an athlete, it's okay to have days na to rest and recuperate. Okay? So you don't have to be in the game all the time. Even professional athletes naman, they take day off eh. Di ba? Papatherapy sila, pag kailangan yan, magpa-therapy lang kayo, di ba? So, kung masakit kayo sa katawan, gawin mo muna yan bago kayo mag-trade ng market. Okay? So, second is, are you ready to play? So, are you ready to play the game? So, it doesn't mean na porket wala kang sakit, okay ka na mag-trade ng market eh. So, you have to ask yourself, are you in peak state? Okay, so, for those of you guys who don't know what peak state is, it's a term by Tony Robbins. So, it basically means na ready kayo to tackle the market. Like, you're feeling parang balanced, you're well prepared, you've done your homework, then you trade the market, right? So, another thing is, kahit na ready kayo to play, you can just opt to sit out it, diba? You just sit the game out and watch from the bench. But then naman, it's another option eh. Okay, so, you don't have to play all the time. Just like in the trading, you don't have to trade all the time, right? So, you have to choose your battles. Okay? Tapos, the third naman is, you should know what your goals are. So, do you come here for fun? Okay, or do you play the game to win? Right? Kasi, sa totoo lang, you can just get lost in all the activity that's happening in the market. Eh. All the news, all the tickers, ang dami yan eh. You can just get lost eh, without fully, like, being fully centered na, ang goal mo naman talaga dito is kumita ng pera. Okay? Alright. So, next is the growth mindset. Right, so for me naman kasi, like it's something that should be given. Okay, so when you enter this, when you enter this game, you have to accept na kulang talaga yung mga knowledge nyo to enter the market. Right, so nature versus nurture. So this is something that Lawrence before was telling us. So parang he would classify traders as nature or nurture. So nature basically means that you're natural talented. So parang medyo ano ka na, like mabilis kang mag-adapt, do the stuff that you need to do. And there's other naman is yung nurture, medyo hindi masyadong talentado. So kailangan pang nurture, right? So but of course, you guys being here, you guys are handpicked na from Pilum. So we are gonna assume that you're talented, that you have the talent. Okay? Lahat tayo here, at some point, may nature na tayo nakasama, right? So what we need is talent plus nurture. Okay? So, tapos na tayo dun sa talent alone. Unfortunately kasi, the way sa tingin ko lang, like, di ano talaga, like, talent alone will sustain you. It's true, I've seen traders that so super talented, natural talent, that they can survive in the stock market. Diba? Of course, it's only a matter of strategy, picking your battles. Iba tayo, as a CPS trader, we can't afford that. We can't rely on talent alone. Kailangan, we growth mindset tayo. Okay? So the way I relate it is Allen Iverson. Okay, so if you guys don't know this, marami akong basketball reference. For me, this guy's a natural talent. Pero, if you, alam mo yung interview niya about the, diba, parang he was mocking the practice, diba? So, dapat, ano tayo? Kobe Bryant. Diba? So, say what you will about sa kanya, pero his work ethic is ibang klase, first year. Okay, so as you can see dito, injured siya, using his left hand, just nag-free throw. Right? So actually, I want to put another picture here. Dapat si Shaq. Pero alam ko mga galit si Shaq eh. So for me, Shaq, actually, could be the greatest player, could be. And definitely the greatest Laker. Pero, of course, syempre, sobrang dami talagang inborn na talent na wala sa iba. Diba? I mean, he could have been the greatest if he strived for it. But of course, diba, in the present, I mean, Shaq naman, wala akong masabi sa kanya, sobrang galing talaga. Outside basketball, diba? So nag-diversify siya in terms of his skills, generation or something. Pero, could be the greatest at one thing. Right? Okay. So, if you notice, if you guys watch this video, kay Ray Dalio, okay, I'm sure lahat naman tayo nanood na ito, diba? Right? So, for me, I watch it once a week, every time. Para lang pa-refresh ako. Isa sa totoo lang, lahat sinabi na niya. Okay, so pero when you zoom out, basically, Ray Dalio is just telling you guys how he grew from basically a newbie fund manager to where he is right now. So basically, meron siyang growth mindset. That's the bottom line. Okay? And if you know Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, it's basically the same eh. Parang he just chronicles the hero, kung ano yung ginawa niya, para maging isang tunay na hero siya, something like that, diba? So it's the growth cycle. Okay? And also, Seth Godin's The Dip. So if you guys are familiar with that, The Dip, diba? I'm sure you guys are, parang medyo nakikita niya na yung dip na yun, diba? Sa traders na maturity. Okay? So, lahat yan, basically it's all that. It's different, parang the concepts are the same, the principles are the same, different packages na. Okay? So, the next is the trader's journey. Right? So, alam niyo na yan, diba? So sa una talaga, may steep incline kayo. Pero kasi akala nyo, you know everything. Which, pero sa totoo lang, it may be the market, maybe beginner stuff. And then you go through the dip. Okay? So the thing that I want to go back on is that if you read Seth Godin or if you listen to podcast na tackling this book, sinasabi niya, there are three kinds. There are actually three kinds. Hindi lang siya the dip. The dip is just one of them. There's another one called cul-de-sac and the cliff. Okay? So I'll go through it briefly lang. So tayo as traders, we need to decide or we need to classify for ourselves what trading is. Okay, so trading could be a dip for you guys. So diba, journey natin mag-dip ka. Or it could be the cul-de-sac. So what is a cul-de-sac? Cul-de-sac is basically a fancy way of saying dead end. Right? So kayo, traders, new traders, you have to see yourself na yung trading as what it is. It could be a dead end job for you. Okay? So if you guys na feeling na okay na kayo at this point, like yung skills that required, okay na, parang you guys don't feel the need to grow, then trading could be a dead end job for you. That's the hard reality, right? Tapos, the cliff naman, ang concept naman ng cliff is that after the initial rise, there's a steep fall. Okay, so the best example of that is, for example, yung mga drugs. Diba? For like pag tinake na siya, automatically you'll feel the positive effects. Then after, of course, in the long term, you'd know for sure it's gonna be bad for you. So yun yung cliff. So if you relate it to a job, maybe it's akit bahay, diba? Like benefits. But in the end, alam nyo na walang patutunguhan yun. Right? So the way I relate it to trading is, for example, you trade without proper risk management, without proper methodology. Okay, so sa una, kikita kayo. But in the end, if you do your numbers, fast forward 10 years into the future, it's gonna be a cliff for you. Okay? So the third is in the dip, right? So, of course, lahat tayo andito, I'm sure. Okay? So, wala naman sa atin na biniview trading as a first two. Okay? So, I'm sure most of us na naka-ahon sa dip, ito na tayo eh, the slow path to mastery. Right? So, pat yourself on the back if feeling nyo na naka-ahon na kayo from the dip and you're on the path to mastery. Okay? Now, of course, sa chart na yan, di ba, it's a incline 45 degrees. But in reality, hindi naman ganyan yan eh. Diba? This is not a fairy tale na after the dip, it's gonna be like blue skies and smooth patches all after the road. Okay, so it's gonna be parang magmumukha siyang mas more like this. Yan. So after the dip, there's the okay plateau. Right? So how would you know if you're in the plateau? So pag tinanong ka ng friends nyo and your parents nyo, kumusta ka na? Jensen, kumusta na yung trabaho natin? Okay lang. Okay plateau. Diyan ka na. Okay? So, ang point lang yan is it okay to be in that plateau? That's the question. And if you ask me, I'll tell you na, it's okay. Kaya nga siya okay plateau. Okay. It's true. Diba? I mean, after all that, diba? After the steep climb, the dip, diba? Tapos akad ka ulit sa taas, pahinga muna tayo sa plateau. Kaya nga siya patag eh. It's where you guys should rest. But, the more important concept, or the thing that I want to drill down on is that you must not stay there. Okay? So totoo lang is if you're there, you're neither an amateur and neither an expert. And within that skill level, you'll survive in the stock market. Okay? But you will never excel, you'll never be one of the greats. Pero you'll survive. So if andyan na kayo and you want to do other stuff, diba? I mean, it's your decision. Success is different for every other people, or for anyone. So, no judgment, alright? Pero, if you wanna go from okay plateau to expert, mahirap na yan. So, for me, the steepness is different. So, what you need is deliberate practice. Okay, so, ano na yan, like, pahirapan na talaga, it's a grind up to the summit. Okay? So, I'm not gonna touch on deliberate practice kasi it's a whole different topic. And honestly, andyan pa rin dun ako sa deliberate practice side. Okay. Right. So, the one thing that I like to point out is trading. I'm sure you guys know what this is, in wicked learning environment. Is that the thing that makes trading so hard is kasi yung feedback that you get is not accurate. Okay, so most of us suffer from the resulting bias. Okay, so if you guys don't know what that is, pag kumita ka sa isang trade, automatically you would assume that that trade was a good trade, regardless of the process that you put into it. That's what makes it so hard. Okay, so you have to, kasi in the stock market, there's a lot of luck involved. So skill and luck. So, and in the short term, it's so hard to differentiate. Okay, which part of that particular trade that you can assess, that you can what do you call this, attribute to luck or to skills. Okay, so that's why being process-oriented is very important. And you have to know your data analytics. Kasi in the short term, for a month, for example, you're up 15%. So, feeling mo magaling ka. But what if the market talagang nanakas? Okay, so maybe skill or luck, di mo ba sure? But what if after 5 years, after 10 years, you're able to navigate through the market and outperform it? Okay, so pag ganun nakatagal yung duration nyo, yung time frame nyo, the luck would balance itself out. Kasi may good luck and may bad luck, black swans and white swans. Okay, so if you can navigate through it, skills na yun. Okay. Right, so you have to be aware of the role that luck plays. Okay? So when you're lucky, you have to accept that you are lucky. Don't attribute it to anything else. Okay? Be thankful na lang, i-accept mo yun. And if you're blindsided by bad luck, like if na-black swan ka, you have to forgive yourself. Ganun lang. Okay, so you have to understand na failure is not an event. Sorry, failure is an event, not a person. Okay, so the last part is I want you to re-examine your beliefs. Okay, so kasi lahat naman tayo, we we grew up from different environments. So my perspective and your perspective is not different. It's different. And of course, yung mga belief system natin, it differs. Okay? So I'll tell you some of the examples that meron akong mga belief or limiting belief that I would like to call it. So first one is self-awareness is the first step to improvement. Okay? So you have to be aware of your skills, as you don't like yourself. So you have to admit that you are lacking, and you need to improve. Okay, first step. So some of the examples that limiting belief that I had before. Okay, so one is basura stocks. So before I would say na I wouldn't touch basura stocks or informed specs in the Philippines because it's illiquid and manipulated. And may ipit lang ako, ganyan, parang it's a zero-sum game. Okay, so what is my truth now? Okay, so the truth is there's a way to play them. Okay, so consulted with Google. So this is early part of the year. Ito yung tumutuloy yung mga now MRC. And I was being left out kasi at that time I was focused in Japan. And sabi ko sa sarili ko na, hindi ko touch yan kasi ayaw ko ng ganyan eh. But of course, data shows na gumagana siya eh. Sila RJ, sila JP, they're all making money, sila Chad and all that. Diba? So, sabi ko, I mean, what's the harm if I learn what they do? Okay, so, sakto si Bumi, sa likod ko lang. Sabi ko, turuan mo ako for free. Diba? No charge. Turuan mo ako. Sabi ko, like, I wanna know your perspective. Diba? So, if medyo alanganin ka, then be skeptic. There's nothing wrong with that. So, in the end, naka-ride ako ng konti, even if in the tail end. At least, diba, it's something na if nangyari siya again, I'll be prepared for it. Okay. So second, MOMO, which is momentum stocks. Okay. So for me, that I believe ko is MOMO forever. Fastest, most profitable, and consistent way to earn. Kasi when I first started here, that was the first thing that I learned. James Cooper said, Jeff Cooper. Sorry, Jeff Cooper said. Okay, so Cooper setup. So yun yung alam ko nung una eh. So if you imagine, yung LC when I first started here, LC was at 30 cents. And I remember, when I went to Lawrence's room, yung drawing niya eh. Hindi yung chart, yung drawing niya yung mine. Ito yung gold, ito yung deposits, parang all the stories, alam na namin. But at that time, I lacked the necessary skills to trade it or to hold on to it. Wala akong alam, di mo na mag-hold eh. I remember kami ng GSL, bumibili kami 30 cents, 40 cents. At tinitrade lang namin 45 cents benta. Buy back 50 cents. Benta 55 cents. Tapos minsan makakala pa kami sa scalp na. So in the end, that LC from 30 cents went up all the way to 1.8 pesos. Okay, so ang laki nun. But I remember, after that year, parang I asked Brian before na, so kamusta yung return mo for the whole portfolio? And he said like, triple-digit return siya. And for me, at the end of the year, I would have like 10% or 5% return. Given that LC data. So, can you imagine that? Parang sobrang, diba? Like, the potential so lost. Okay. Of course, yung sama lang doon, namutang pa ako sa magulang ko at 10% interest. So, talagang sobrang walang kwenta. Sobrang sinayang, it's a wasted opportunity. Basically, if you don't know how to utilize the skills. Okay? So, what is my truth now about MOMO stocks? So, not all momentum trades are traded equal. So, hit and edge ratio decreases exponentially on non-trending markets. So, prone to whipsaws and cuts. So, high time commitment can't maintain same strategy for all markets simultaneously with consistency. Okay, so now I trade different markets na 3 markets. So if I want to use this particular setup for all of them, mamamatay ako. And I'm gonna be underperforming in all markets, diba? And magulo. So my truth now is that I should learn other setups na I should learn how to trade those 3 markets effectively using different kind of strategies. Okay. So third, resets. Okay, so my limiting belief was, I hate resets, not worth my time. Okay, when there are other momentum stocks that I could choose from. Okay. So what is my belief right now? Okay, so resets can be a powerful formation. if you know the specific fundamental variables, so the narrative, quantitative numbers, anong base na sila, or if it's a megatrend, diba? So I'll show you one example now. So this is Japan, 6080 MD capital. Okay, so the way I see it is that it is going through a reset. Diba? Numbers, check, high growth. Industry, megatrend. Base, third base. Eight states na siya. So automatic, less holding power. Okay, so we have a cheat naman sa CPS. Diba? We have JSON and we have Lemon. If you guys don't know how to do all this, okay? So first, earnings beat. That's why siya nag-gap up. Okay? So I just bought sa mga blue lines and I sold. Kasi akala ko resistance, so binenta ko, then I bought it back. Then, yung nag-gap up siya, I acknowledge na it was luck. Luck lang siya kasi wala siyang isip, bigla na siyang tinira pa natin. So, sell half, tapos 3 yung other balance. Earned 11K. So, pwede na, pero yung maganda dyan is that, yung size ko dyan maliit na. So, scale up, which I normally don't do kasi if you're a momentum player, one time buy lang, full size, tapos scale na. But of course, you acknowledge that it's a reset na mabagal siya o hindi siya pataas. So, kailangan you adjust your size. Right. So, this was my trade before. So, I just got it from my BW trade, sa BWT. So, what I wrote before was like, mentally prepared, bought back after it showed relative strength, and that it was good, proper sizing, hindi na pagod. Tapos, points for improvement, selling up on surges, remember, blah, blah, blah. Tapos, so ngayon, yung red niya, I just put it in hindsight. Kasi when I made that analogy, when I made that analysis, syempre, hindi na yun. But looking forward, parang there's no way to know naman na what's the perfect way to sell. So parang, for me, I just have to live with it. Kasi ako anong ginawa kong selling tactic, I just do it and then move on to another trade. Okay. So fourth is reversals and capitulations. Right? So, my limiting belief is that I hate reversals, not worth my time and effort. So what's my truth now? I still hate them. Alright. So, last but not the least, is the Cps community. Alright. So, ito lang ginawa ko picture na, mas wala akong mga picture. Okay, so, bottom line is, you have to utilize the pool of knowledge that is present in our community. Okay, so, I see, kasi some of the young traders, medyo naiiyak pa sila magtanong. When I was during my first year, wala kang choice, you have to ask questions. Kasi we don't have, we don't have that curriculum in the basic. So I forced myself to ask questions to different seniors. And it turned out to be such a blessing. Kasi right now, diba? Kasi parang there are some cycles in the market na first time mo parang makikita na for you don't know what to do. But if you ask questions to those na senior traders that has already gone through it, to get a semblance of paano nila ginawa and how to navigate the market. Okay, so hindi lang sa amin. So we're blessed na andyan ba yung mga ibang IFAs that has been our traders for X number of years na, 20, 30 plus years. So yung wealth of knowledge nila is invaluable. So experience talaga first hand. Like, it's different if they show you a chart, but if they tell you what they were thinking that time and the emotions nila, it adds a different flavor to the whole story. And honestly, yung mga ganyan, kailangan talaga malaman yan. It's such an edge for us to be in this community and asking them questions. Okay? So, in the end, ano naman talaga ano bang batayan ng isang trader? So, what is the hallmark of a great trader is the ability to accumulate equity. Nothing else. Okay? So, pangit man pakinggan, di ba? Pero that's the bottom line. Is if you can accumulate equity through time, then you're a great trader. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you can get 100% return for 1 year and lose it all the next year, and another 100% return the next year, and lose it again. You're not a great trader. That's the bottom line. So, consistent accumulation of equity, that's the hallmark of a great trader. Okay, so that's it. Thanks. Yung mga questions ba? O wala? Kaya tayo.
I have a question. Your experiences coming from work under a lot of the senior guys directly. So things that you've taken away from them during that time versus what they're seeing today. How do you make that kind of? I know you work under DP, you work under parents.
So my first mentor was Terence and DP. Yeah. So at that time, si Terence was constantly giving me. So if you guys don't know what the dating protocol is, so we would go there and we have this trading sheet every morning that we would put the issues in. Tapos pumunta kami kay Terence, ako punta kay Terence, and I would submit the paper to him. He would check and he would make comments. Pangat ang chart mo, ganyan. Ito, mali ito. Ano to? Wala to, ganyan. Tapos at the end of the day, bigyan niya sa'yo papel. And yung mga check marks, bibilin mo. So, ganun din. Tapos unti-unti yan ang iba eh. So, at the end of the day, we go back to him and he would give us feedback. Sabihin niya, ito, mali to kasi ganito. Siyempre, at that time, yung mga negets lahat na sinasabi niya. Parang ang dami yung sinasabi. Kami si Terence. Ang dami yung sinabi. At that time, you can fully understand kung sinasabi. So basically, si Terence, what I like, is malakas yung sentiment na ever since na. So, he did the talk last week lang. And doon ko lang medyo na-realize na yung mga sinasabi niya last week, narinig ko na yan like 7 years ago. Pero that time, yung may gets ko ano sinasabi na. Kasi I wasn't ready to accept the knowledge. Kasi I lacked the necessary the mindset. So, yung question na rin tayo.
Yung today, how you treat your
I think ngayon, mas it's more systematic na. That's something, a big improvement. Kasi for me, when I went to Terence, you absorb ko ano yung style niya. Which is, when I went to TP, it's a totally different style na naman. So, the learning curve is mas matagal. Kasi, yung style ni Terence, different from my style, different in style ni TP, different from my style. So, marami siyang adjustments eh. So, you have to learn constantly. So, there was maraming traits na gusto ni Terence, so bibiliin ko rin. At the end of the day, hawak ko pa, talo na ako, ayun pala siya, kilat na niya. So, yung mga intricacies like that, medyo blurred eh, kasi wala man talagang proper system or curriculum in which to guide you. So, itong right now, what Caleb did, sobrang shortcut na talaga yan. Like, it's lahat ng alam namin, for basically all the scars and all the wounds that we know, that we have, lagay na namin dun sa Caleb. So, it's basically the foundations na namin. Of course, when you go through trading, alam nyo na ngayon, but marami pang intricacies eh. Pero, the foundation is there that you can build on.
Your beliefs. Now, how often do you look back at your beliefs, question them?
I want to normally, normally kasi I guess lahat naman tayo same lang. We just suffer through failures. That's the best part. That's the part when you are most open to change. Of course, syempre, I wouldn't wish na mangyari sa iyo yung mga mag-fail mo na kayo, that's why bago kayo mag-change. But I guess, in the end, numbers won't lie. So, if what you're doing is not working, then it's a wake-up call for you to change something. So, if for example, year after year, you're underperforming, then of course, you're lacking something. Diba? So, that's why you should change. And yung maganda is, you would see some traders who are outperforming, and you can always ask them. Okay, so before, when Chad was my seatmate, and we were trading the Philippines, so at that time, feeling ko magaling na ako. I was earning 30% yearly consistently. Parang for me, pwede na, di ba? Coming from wala naman talaga akong alam. And then you will see Chad, 80%, 70%. Parang, ano ba to? Ano ba kailangan, di ba? Parang ganyan eh. So, as in, di ako ganun talaga. Parang, you will appreciate naman talaga. And when you ask Chad, he tells you naman kung anong ginagawa niya. Pero syempre, at that time, di ba na may gets kung anong ginagawa niya. Parang you would listen and you would like, anong connect din sa stock market, parang ganyan. Diba? Parang yung mga brokerage. Parang, for me, sobrang, parang hindi ko siya masyadong incorporate kasi it's not my style. Pero, point is, like, if you want to be better na lang, I guess, I push myself to be better. And if I see there's something there's some method or methodology out there na I can incorporate, then I'll do it. Yeah, siya.
So, I assume you always do.
Yeah.
How do you filter out kasi, yung iba malakas mo. Iba, assume na ano ka. Magaling talaga. So, how do you filter out all those things?
Good question.
Checklist ka ba?
Siyempre ang una, kasi after time, you would know naman kung sino talaga yun. Who's legit din alam. Who's legit, who's out of the... pero syempre sa una, numbers won't lie in the end. Okay, so, tinatanong ko na lang, like for example, at the end of the year, who did well, who did bad. Tapos syempre, again, luck plays a role. Pero through time, you'll know. And one thing na when I ask questions, I always look at how they explain it. Okay, so like I look for the intricacies, yung details. That's what I look for. Yung not the whole picture, but how they came up with the particular solution. Okay, so yun yung mga gusto kong makakuha. Kasi in the end, when they tell you stuff, di naman lahat yun makakuha mo. But you will get some bits and pieces that you can incorporate into your own. So minsan, when I ask them questions, tapos yung answer nila is totally different. Siyempre, you would be parang magiging skeptic eh. So you would think, not necessarily gagawin mo siya agad sa training mo. Pero parang isipin mo kung may sense ba talaga siya. In the end, it's common sense eh. Common sense na. Tapos, you try it. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Kind of.
Oh, you have a great.
Okay. Yes. Top 3 inspirations from my system. A hard question. Madami eh. Pero ako kasi I've always been like, I've always been a technical trader. Dati kasi for me, of course, but price discounts all things. Totoo naman yan. It's true. Pero of course, knowing what the price is discounting is also very important. So, madami. So right now, my focus is like basically fundamentals. Kasi it's something, when I look at myself, it's yung weakness ko. Basically being a technical trader for a long time. And then, at one point, feeling mo kulang na. Especially when the market's turned. Tapos, labanan ng stock picking. Kulang na ko lang kanina. So, I acknowledge that I'm lacking. And then, I seek out different ways in which to filter out stocks. So, what Leonard has been doing. Actually, I've been talking to Leonard way before. And we were sharing ideas. Dami niya sinasabi. Useful stuff. So, parang, may sense. So, yung fundamentals is basically Leonard and yung mga ibang books that I read, mga Canslim, NRB, basically pare-parehas lang eh, kasi they're all growth stocks oriented naman sila. So yun, tapos risk management, inspirations. Wala eh, through time siguro. Ako lang, I inspire myself. Si boss pala, sorry. Yes, si boss. Okay na? Right, good luck.
Right, thank you.